All right, today we're tackling two of history's greatest head-scratchers. On one hand, you've got a dead man on a beach, a total John Doe with a mysterious note in his pocket. And on the other, a medieval book written in a language that, well, it might not even be a language. They seem like they're from different universes, right? Separated by hundreds of years and thousands of miles. But here's the thing. They share one incredible connection. For the longest time, both were considered absolutely, stubbornly uncrackable.
So, let's really set the stage here. First up, the Somerton Man. We're in Australia, 1948. A body washes up, no ID, the labels are literally cut out of his clothes, and the only clue is this tiny piece of paper with just 2 words on it. Then, you have the Voynich manuscript. This thing is from the 1400s, and it's filled with these wild drawings of plants that don't exist, weird astronomical charts, and it's all written in this beautiful script that has stumped the world's best code breakers for over 600 years. No joke.
So, here's our game plan for tackling these two epic puzzles. We'll start with the basics of each mystery, then look at the weird first clues that popped up. After that, we'll dive right into the unreadable texts that make them so famous. We'll follow the long, frustrating hunt for answers, see how modern science completely changed everything, and finally, we'll talk about why we're still so obsessed with them. All right, let's jump in. A body with no name, in a book with no meaning. You know, these aren't just your average cold cases. These are legends in the world of unsolved mysteries. They're what happens when every normal investigative tool just fails.
I mean, just think about the timelines for a second. The Somerton Man case stumped investigators for over 70 years. 70! But the Voynich manuscript? We're talking over 600 years. This book is older than the printing press. It's a mystery that has literally outlived empires. And that staying power, that longevity, that's what makes these stories so legendary.
So if you're an investigator, what do? You've got a man who seems to have been erased from existence and a book that looks like it's from another planet. Where on earth do you even begin? Well, for both of these, the answer was the same. You start with what you can touch, the physical evidence.
You know, in any great mystery, those first clues are absolutely critical. They set the entire tone, they raise all the big questions, and yeah, they usually send investigators down a bunch of rabbit holes. And believe me, in these two cases, the first clues were about as strange as they come.
Okay, let's paint the picture. It's December 1st, 1948, on Somerton Park Beach in Australia. A man is found lying on the sand, dressed perfectly in a suit and tie. He's in peak physical condition, but he's dead. The pathologist can't figure out why and suspects some kind of exotic, undetectable poison. And the investigation? It hits a brick wall, like instantly. No wallet, no ID. And get this, all the labels from his clothes have been carefully cut off. This wasn't just some guy who forgot his wallet. This was someone who was deliberately made into a ghost.
Now let's switch gears to the manuscript. Before we even try to read it, the book itself has a story to tell. It's made of calfskin, vellum, pretty standard for the time. About 240 pages are left. The ink is just regular iron gall ink, and the paints used for the drawings, they're actually pretty cheap. So this tells us something important. Whoever made this put in a ton of effort, but they weren't rich. And it's clear people have messed with it over the years. Pages are gone, the order is jumbled, and the cover it has now isn't the original one.
And that's the key parallel right there, isn't it? You have a human body, scrubbed clean of any identity, and you have a book totally anonymous, giving us 0 clues about who made it or why. They're two physical objects that should be full of answers, but instead all you get is silence.
Look, being anonymous is one thing, but leaving behind a clue that is completely unreadable, that's on another level. And that's exactly what pushes these cases from just being unsolved mysteries into the realm of legend. It all comes down to the texts.
So, months go by. The Somerton Man case is going absolutely nowhere. The police decide to go over the man's clothes one more time, and that's when they find it. Tucked into this tiny hidden pocket is a little scrap of rolled up paper, and on it are 2 words, "Tamam should." It turns out to be Persian for "it is finished," or the end. Okay, so here's where it gets really wild. That phrase, "Tamam should," it's the very last line from a famous book of poetry, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. The police go public with this, and a local guy comes forward. He says, hey, you know, around that time, I found a copy of that exact book tossed in the back of my car. And sure enough, the police look, and the last page, the page with Tamam should, is ripped out. But when they look closer at the back cover, they find faint pencil markings. It was a code.
And this is it. This is the code. 5 lines of what look like just random letters. And see that second line? It's crossed out. Why? Was it a mistake, or was that part of the message? For decades, the best military code breakers, the smartest minds, they've all taken a crack at this thing, and nobody has solved it, not one. So now you don't just have a mystery man, you have a mystery message.
And this is the perfect bridge to our other mystery, right? The Somerton Code is just 5 lines long. The Voynich manuscript is like an entire book written in that code. The script, which people now call Voynichese, has about 25 characters you've never seen before. But here's the crazy part. It's not just random scribbles. It has rules. Some characters are only ever at the beginning of a word, some only at the end. It even follows this thing called Zipf's law, which is a fancy way of saying it has the same statistical word frequency as a real language like English or Spanish. It even seems to have 2 different dialects. So it looks like a language, it acts like a language, but to us it means absolutely nothing.
So there you have it. You've got your evidence, a dead man with a secret code and an ancient book written in a ghost language. What followed was a hunt for answers that would last for decades, pulling in detectives, academics, and internet sleuths. And for the most part, it all led to one dead end after another.
Following the Somerton man case is just an exercise in frustration. First, they find a suitcase they think is his. It has clothes inside marked T. Keene. Great, except there's no missing person named T. Keene. Then they find a phone number in the book that leads to a nurse, Jessica Thompson. When they show her a plaster cast of the man's face, she says she doesn't know him, but people there said she looked like she'd seen a ghost. Then, a break. She admits she once gave a copy of that poetry book to a soldier named Alf Boxall. This has to be it. But nope, they find Alf Boxall alive and well, and he still has his copy of the book. Every single lead just poof, gone.
And when you run out of facts, theories take over. With the Somerton man, people started guessing everything. Was he a Cold War spy, taken out with some secret poison, or just a heartbroken lover who committed suicide? And the theories for the Voynich were just as wild. Maybe it's a super complex code hiding the secrets of alchemy. Or maybe it's all just a meaningless, elaborate hoax designed to fool someone rich. The speculation was all over the map.
The hunt for answers about the manuscript goes back way further. We know that back in the 1600s, it was owned by an alchemist in Prague who was obsessed with it. He sent it to this famous scholar, Athanasius Kircher, who is known for claiming he could read Egyptian hieroglyphs. Spoiler alert, he couldn't. And he couldn't read this either. After that, the book basically vanishes for 2 centuries. Then in 1912, a book dealer named Wilfred Voynich buys it, and that's how it gets its name. But the point is, for hundreds of years, the smartest people in the world looked at this book, and every single one of them failed to understand it.
So, for decades, for centuries, these mysteries were completely stuck. They were just puzzles of ink and paper and witness statements. But then, the 21st century happened, and suddenly we had a whole new toolbox. Modern science finally stepped in, offering a way to ask the silent witnesses, the body in the book, for answers directly.
For the Voynich manuscript, the first huge breakthrough was radiocarbon dating. Scientists took tiny samples of the pages, and they were able to nail down its creation date to the early 1400s, somewhere between 1404 and 1438. And this was a massive deal. It proved once and for all that this wasn't some modern forgery. This thing was the real deal. It was authentically medieval.
Then, the computers got involved. They analyzed the text's entropy, which is basically a fancy word for how predictable it is. So like a monkey mashing a keyboard has high entropy, total randomness. English has medium entropy. If I say Q, you're pretty sure U is coming next. The results for Voynichese were just bizarre. It has lower entropy than any known language. It's superstructured, super repetitive, so it's definitely not gibberish, but it also raised an even weirder question. What kind of language is more predictable than our own?
But the really mind-blowing breakthrough came from the Somerton man case. And funny enough, the crucial clue didn't come from digging up the body. It came from a few hairs that were stuck in that old plaster cast from 1949. From those tiny hairs, researchers managed to get a full DNA profile. And then came the really clever part, genetic genealogy. They uploaded his DNA to ancestry databases and started finding 3rd and 4th cousins. From there, it's like building a gigantic family tree, backward, until all the branches finally led to one name. And in July 2022, after all those years, they found him.
After 73 years of being a complete mystery, the Somerton man finally had a name. He was Carl Charles Webb, born in 1905. And just like that, a whole life story came into focus. Webb wasn't a spy. He was an electrical engineer from Melbourne. He was going through a tough time, had recently separated from his wife,
And suddenly some of those old clues started to make a weird kind of sense. He loved poetry, which explains the book, and he apparently liked to bet on horse races, which makes you wonder, could that unbreakable code just be a list of horses?
The science here was just so precise. They even analyzed his mitochondrial DNA, the stuff you only get from your mother, and traced him to an ancestral group that only 1% of Europeans belong to. It was that kind of incredible, microscopic detail, something totally unimaginable in 1948, that finally gave this man his name back.
So, here we are. One of our epic mysteries is pretty much solved, while the other is just as baffling as it was 600 years ago. And that brings us to the big final question. What is it about these puzzles that we just can't let go of? So let's check the final score. The Somerton Man case, we're calling it solved. Now, the police haven't made it official yet, but the DNA evidence is overwhelming. We know who he was. The Voynich manuscript, on the other hand, is still completely uncracked. Science has told us a lot about it. We know how old it is and that the text has structure, but we still have no idea what it actually says.
And that's really the heart of it. Experts like Professor Gonzalo Rubio point out just how fundamentally weird the text is. He says things that are basic to every language we know, like how grammar works, just don't apply to Voynich's. It completely breaks the rules of language as we understand them. So this might not just be a code. It could be a completely different way of writing down information that we've never seen before.
So that's where we're left. With the Somerton Man, we get that deep satisfaction of a mystery solved, of an answer finally found after more than 70 years. But with the Voynich manuscript, we get the thrill of a puzzle that's still out there, still undefeated, still challenging the smartest people and the best technology we have. And it really makes you think, which one is more compelling? The mystery you finally solve, or the one that serves as a reminder that there are still some things out there that might just be forever beyond our reach?